Why does it seem like doors only start opening when you're almost there? This question is unsettling, provocative, and at the same time reveals a silent truth about the world of investing that almost no one talks about openly. Perhaps you've already experienced this firsthand. You're studying, working hard, doing everything right, but opportunities keep passing you by, as if there's a radar that simply doesn't identify you yet. And it's precisely about this invisible radar, this psychological, behavioral, and financial barrier, that Sharkston, your guide in this universe, wants to warn you about today. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. When we talk about personal finances, building heritage, wealth-building strategies, and those exclusive financial opportunities, it's something everyone talks about behind the scenes, but almost no one explains. There's a turning point that separates those who are just walking down the hallway from those who finally begin to see the doors. And that's why, when you're just starting out, it seems like nobody wants to teach you. Not because you're not capable, not because you don't have potential, but because there's a minimum level of discipline and consistency that the market demands before allowing you to advance. A kind of silent test that you're truly committed to this journey. Sharkston often says that the financial market functions like a large building. On the ground floor, everyone enters. Beginners, curious individuals, people looking for shortcuts. But as you go up, each floor brings deeper conversations, more serious strategies, and decisions that require not only knowledge but also behavior. And that's exactly where the number that many people underestimate appears. The 250K, it's not just a number, it's an emotional and mental milestone. It's when you demonstrate that you're no longer playing around, no longer testing, no longer in investment tourist mode. It's when you prove to yourself and to those at the top that you're a true student. And perhaps you are at that point today. Perhaps you are still in the hallway, hearing echoes of opportunities that seem distant. Private investment deals, off-market investment deals, exclusive wealth access closed mentorships, select groups, conversations that never appear on YouTube and aren't advertised anywhere. And you ask yourself, why doesn't anyone invite me? Why doesn't anyone call me? Why doesn't anyone open this world to me? The truth is, this invitation isn't spoken, it's perceived. It appears when your wealth reaches a level that proves you've understood the game, that you know how to play the long game, that you have emotional discipline, and that you're ready to enter a new layer. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but still don't have access to the opportunities that truly matter, know that this isn't personal, it's structural. The market doesn't show everything to everyone. There are environments where only qualified, disciplined, and consistent investors can enter. And Sharkston is here to show you that this door isn't magic, and certainly not unattainable. It's built little by little, brick by brick, habit by habit, month after month. It's the sum of your silent decisions. And the most curious thing is that, when you start to approach that level, you feel it. Your mind changes, your posture changes, your choices change. You stop looking for shortcuts and start looking for strategy. You stop chasing promises and start building processes. And it is at that moment that something in the market, that invisible layer, finally begins to see you. What Sharkston is going to show you from now on is exactly the side that nobody explains. Why the game changes after the 250K. Why do mentors only notice you when you cross that silent line? And how can this accelerate your entry into the sphere of unseen financial opportunities? So take a deep breath, because from here on out, you're not just watching the hallway anymore. You're about to see the doors. And as all of this begins to make sense within you, perhaps that little question will appear. Is it just me who feels this way? And it's precisely here that I want to invite you to something simple yet powerful. If this topic resonates with you, if at any point in this journey you felt like you were in the hallway while others seem to already be inside the classrooms, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. Sometimes another person's experience sheds light on our own journey, and your perspective can help someone who is exactly where you are. Have you ever been through this? Share it with us. This space is a community, and Sharkston believes that no one grows alone. And since you're here, immersed in this reflection and seeking smarter ways to build wealth, take the opportunity to like the video. It may seem like a small gesture, but it's that click that shows YouTube that this content has value, that it needs to be delivered to more people who are lost in that same invisible corridor. Each like is like pushing a door a little further forward, helping this message reach those who need to hear it. And of course, if you feel that this type of conversation, direct, sincere, strategic, and without shortcuts, is exactly what was missing from your financial routine, then subscribe to the channel. This shows not only me but Sharkston himself that you are truly committed to continuing this journey. Your subscription is like saying, I want to learn how to reach 250K the right way. I want to be prepared when the door opens. And believe me, this community grows with each person who decides to take this step. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content that almost no one dares to talk about openly. This is how we create a movement, not just a video. This is how we transform knowledge into a journey. And, while you leave your comment, like the video, and subscribe, something interesting begins to happen. You are already training the same type of discipline and consistency that takes you to the next level in the world of investing. And speaking of the next level, what comes next will further open your eyes to the hidden side of the market, to what really changes after 250K, and why some mentors only notice you when you cross that silent line. Let's continue this journey together. Stay with me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a hidden truth that almost no one dares to openly admit, but which completely changes how you see your own journey. Many people believe that mentors simply don't like beginners, as if it were an arrogant or overly selective choice. But when you look behind the scenes, you realize that's not the case. The central point is that a beginner, however well-intentioned, is still in a state of fluctuation. One day they're excited, the next they're discouraged. 1 month they follow a strategy, the following month they want to change everything. And this emotional instability discourages any attempt at serious guidance. Not because the mentor is cold, but because the beginner isn't yet ready to sustain their own pace. That's why the 250K mark carries such a greater meaning than the number itself. It's not about the amount. It's about what this milestone reveals about your mindset, your decisions, and the accumulated impact of the choices you've made over time. When someone reaches this point, it's because they've understood the logic of continuous effort, short-term sacrifice, and the patience to reap the rewards in the long term. It's someone who doesn't freeze at the first setback, doesn't give up at the first loss, doesn't look for miraculous shortcuts. It's someone who has already proven, to themselves and to the market, that they know how to respect the game. Sharkston always says that, before reaching 250K, the biggest challenge isn't the money, but building discipline. It's like training a muscle that doesn't yet exist. It hurts. It's tiring. You want to stop. And that's exactly why mentors don't move towards those who are just starting out. It's not a lack of interest, it's a lack of consistency. Beginners want quick results, impossible revelations, shortcuts that don't exist. Those who cross that 250K threshold show they understand that the process is bigger than any rush. And this change in attitude creates a kind of invisible signal, a silent mark of commitment that is instantly recognized by those at higher levels. This number functions almost like a new identity. It says, I'm no longer playing impulsively. I'm building. It shows that you control your emotions when everything falls apart, that you know how to maintain strategy even when the market tests you, that you don't give up when it seems pointless to continue. And this completely transforms how the environment perceives you. Mentors, experienced investors, more advanced communities. Everyone starts to realize that you're not there as a curious onlooker or a tourist. You're there as someone who truly wants to grow. And when that perception changes, doors that once seemed distant begin to open. Not because someone chose you, but because you've become someone who recognizes that kind of opportunity. It's a silent journey of transformation, built with each contribution, each difficult choice, each time you gave up. Immediate pleasure to strengthen your future. And the most curious thing is to realize how, inevitably, this makes you wonder, am I far, or am I close? This reflection isn't a burden. It's an invitation. A call to realize where you are in your own evolution now and what you still need to strengthen to move forward. And while you absorb all of this, leave a comment with the phrase, I'm on this journey too. This helps keep the conversation alive with those who are evolving alongside you. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding this shift in perception completely changes the way you see the market and yourself within it. Most people think the financial market is an open arena where everyone has access to the same information, the same decisions, and the same opportunities. But that's just the surface, the simplified version that appears in advertisements, short videos, or the shallow conversations of those who are still at the beginning of their journey. When you look behind the scenes more closely, you realize that the market functions like a huge building, full of floors, and each level reveals a type of conversation, a depth of analysis, and a set of doors that simply don't exist for those who are still on the ground floor. On the ground floor, everything seems predictable. It's the place for saving, for simple compound interest calculations, for the first attempts at financial organization. It's where you learn to control impulses, understand the basics, and deal with your own emotional patterns. It's an important but limited environment. Most people who enter the world of investing never leave this first stage because they believe that's all there is. But just above, there's a first floor where the curious reside. Those who test, experiment, make small contributions, watch videos, build a reserve, and begin to look at the game with a little more seriousness. But even there, the view is still partial, like looking out the window of a building and only seeing the street below. It's only when you reach the second floor, the one you can only reach with discipline, personal transformation, and a real commitment to your own journey, that something different happens. That's the 250K level. Not because the value is magical, but because the path to it demands a mindset shift that few are willing to undertake. Here, your perspective changes, your posture changes, your decisions carry more intention, and it's precisely at this point that certain environments begin to open up, almost as if they were waiting for someone who truly understood the impact of the process. On this second floor, you realize there are doors that never appeared before. Doors to high-level conversations, in-depth analysis, intelligent networking, mature communities, and mentorships that operate at a different pace. This is where the so-called high-net opportunities, private deals, and access to the private market begins to emerge. Always discreetly, rarely publicized, always directed towards those who have already proven their consistency. And when you get there, you understand why beginners don't even imagine these things exist. Because they really don't appear to those who haven't yet risen to the top. It's not elitism, it's natural filtering, it's security, it's maturity. It's the silent logic of the market protecting what only makes sense to those who already have at least a minimal grasp of their own emotions. And then comes the most intriguing part, the third floor. This is the territory of life-changing conversations, decisions that can accelerate achievements, analyses that can't be found anywhere else on the internet. It's where big names talk to other big names, where strategies are discussed before they become trends, where opportunities are shared before they become public. Very few people get this far, not because it's impossible, but because it requires time, patience, and the ability to persevere. When no one is watching. The most curious thing is that when you start to approach those upper levels, the sensation is almost physical. You notice that there are movements happening up there. You feel that there is something beyond, even if you can't yet see it clearly. That's why so many people give up before getting close. Because they can't believe that there's a whole universe reserved for those who decide to go through the entire process. And the hidden truth behind all this is that there are things in the market that you can't even imagine exist until you get close. And when you get there, you realize that nothing they told you before was the complete version. There were always more layers, more revelations, more paths that only appear when you are ready to walk them without stumbling. This moment of realization changes how you see the game. It changes your relationship with money, with time, and even with your own identity as an investor. And it is precisely this expansion of consciousness that prepares the ground for everything that comes next, because understanding the levels is only the beginning of the real journey. If this makes sense to you, comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a detail that almost no one talks about, but that completely changes how you interpret the behavior of mentors, advanced communities, and people who truly live this world at the highest level. For those who teach, for those who have already traveled a long journey, full of mistakes, successes, corrections, and difficult decisions, there are only two types of people: tourists and true investors. And this distinction has nothing to do with arrogance. It has to do with perception. It has to do with accumulated experience. It has to do with that hidden truth that only appears when you calmly observe what's happening behind the scenes. The tourist is the one who shows up full of enthusiasm, but disappears at the first obstacle. They're the person who changes strategy with every new video, who jumps from niche to niche, who thinks a miracle technique will solve everything overnight. The tourist can't stay long enough to understand the impact of their own choices. They're someone guided by emotion, who gives up when the market gets tough, who is more enchanted by superficial glitz than by silent construction. And that's exactly why mentors don't invest energy in those who are still at this stage. It's not judgment. It's logic. You don't plant a seed in soil that's still being turned over every day. True investors, on the other hand, have a different pace, a different presence, a different mindset. They don't make impulsive decisions. They don't run away when something goes wrong. They don't break their strategy because they heard a different opinion. They understand that the path is long, that personal transformation is as important as financial growth, and that consistency is far more valuable than haste. And among all the signs that reveal who is truly in this group, there is one that stands out for its symbolic power: reaching 250K. This number acts as a silent seal of commitment, Not because it's a magical value, but because no one reaches it by chance. It demands discipline, focus, short-term sacrifice, conscious decisions, and the ability to stay the course even when the whole world seems to be pulling you off it. Those who reach this milestone show, without needing to say anything, that they have matured, that they have learned to control their emotions, that they are not just testing the waters, that they are not just passing through. It's as if suddenly an inner light turns on and says, "I'm not playing around anymore." And what's most impressive is that mentors recognize this from afar. It's a kind of invisible password. They look at posture, behavior, history, decision-making patterns, and they perceive who is ready. There's no need to speak, no need to introduce oneself. It's perceptible. Those who have already walked this path know how to identify another traveler by the way they walk. And, in a way, this recognition creates a silent connection between those who are prepared for deeper conversations and those who are still strengthening their first steps. This understanding greatly changes how you view your own process, because when you realize that 250K isn't an unattainable goal, but a milestone of maturity, everything seems more possible. This amount comes to represent not wealth, but evolution. It's a reminder that you're building something that goes beyond money. You're building identity, awareness, stability. You're ceasing to be a tourist and becoming someone who truly knows where they stand. And this shift in perspective opens up space for deeper reflections on who you are within this game, and what the next step is in this journey that is still unfolding before you, layer by layer, revelation by revelation. Comment below, "I'm a long-term player." Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a silent revelation that only those who have truly begun to climb a few floors of this invisible building called the financial market understand. When you finally cross that 250K mark, something changes. And it's not just the amount in your account. It's as if your financial identity is internally reorganized. You realize that you haven't just gained access to mentors. You've gained access to something much more powerful, a completely different mindset. The way you think about risk, time, priorities, and decisions changes so naturally that you hardly notice it. And from the outside, those who are already at the next level notice it immediately. This change happens because at this stage, certain opportunities that previously seemed distant begin to appear in your field of vision. These aren't advertisements, recommended videos, or sensational promises. They are opportunities that simply aren't advertised to the general public. They are those whispered conversations behind the scenes, where serious investors share analyses that have never made it to YouTube, where someone comments on a promising project before it becomes a trend, where networks of trust are formed discreetly, almost ritually. And this only happens because you have already proven, with your accumulated actions throughout the journey, that you deserve to be in these circles. And the most interesting thing is that at this point, it's not just about money. What opens doors for you isn't the balance, it's the signal that you're no longer standing still, stagnant, waiting for a miracle. You're growing, you're accumulating consistency, discipline, strategy, and emotional maturity. And this evolution creates access to conversations that simply don't happen anywhere else. These are discussions that don't take place anywhere else, because they only circulate among people who have the same level of commitment. It's like being part of a room where nobody needs to speak loudly to be understood, where the subtext speaks louder than words. Strategic networking takes on a new significance. It's no longer just a superficial exchange of tips, but connections between people who see far ahead, who think long-term, who understand the impact of their own choices. It's there that you realize something you may never have heard with this clarity. Investment doesn't reward those who are fast. It rewards those who are consistent. It rewards those who endure, those who stay the course even when the market shakes, those who persevere when no one is watching, those who always show up, those who don't disappear in the turbulence, those who repeat the basics until the basics become extraordinary. And this consistency creates a curious effect. The more you grow internally, the more the outside world begins to reorganize itself around you. Doors that seemed locked begin to open slightly. People who didn't notice you before start paying attention. Opportunities that seemed invisible begin to take shape. Not because they have now appeared, but because you have finally become able to see them. It's a type of transformation that goes far beyond a number in the bank account. It's an expansion of financial awareness. A gradual revelation that shows that being upper has never been about privilege, but about preparation. And that's exactly what this conversation aims to awaken in you. Not as a promise, but as an invitation. An invitation to realize that there is a clear, real, and accessible path for those who decide to walk it with intention, maturity, and consistency. The door of the sharks doesn't open for those who are standing still, waiting for the perfect opportunity. It opens for those who are growing, step by step, without deviating from the process. If this resonated with you, leave a comment below. I'm leveling up. And if you've made it this far, you can feel that this topic resonates with something inside you, perhaps a long-standing desire for real growth, perhaps the recognition that this is the kind of conversation that was missing from your journey. Therefore, if this content has helped you in any way, if any part has made you see your journey more clearly, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Not out of habit, not out of obligation, but because from now on this journey will become even deeper, more strategic, and more aligned with those who truly want to evolve in the world of investing. Also, leave a like. Not for the number of likes, but because it shows that this exchange made sense and helps this type of conversation continue happening here. It's like a silent signal that it's worth continuing at this pace. And so, I know you stayed with me until the end. Leave this phrase in the comments. I'm with you until the end. This is how I recognize who is walking alongside me in this transformation. And when you're finished here, take a look at the video that's appearing on the side. It perfectly complements what we talked about today and will help you continue leveling up. Click and stay with me there. There's a lot of good stuff waiting for you in the next room of this journey.